Hi, welcome to a new video, and today I'm gonna do the long-awaited virginity update video. So as you know, I've uploaded my first virginity video 3.5-ish years ago, so I'll link that here somewhere or in the description box. And yeah, I figured I'll do a little bit of an update today. I want to kind of take you with me on how I kind of changed as a person compared to that first video that I did when I was little 23-year-old me. But yeah, so I am still a virgin, nothing has changed yet. I will actually also do a separate video on like my thoughts about virginity, I guess. So keep posted for that. But yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous somehow for this video. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit more about like the why and the reasoning behind the still being a virgin thing, and kind of like my self-discovery, self-development journey in that area. So when I made that first video, I'm pretty sure I said something like, yeah, the reason was because I hadn't met the right guy yet, blah blah blah, which is sort of true. But looking back now, I was also kind of lying to myself, so probably kind of lying to you guys. Although I didn't really realize that at the time. So, you know, I was like dating and stuff, but like I would never take things any further than like going on 1 or 2 dates. And at some point I was kind of like, I stopped myself and I thought, why? Why is that? Because I think I discussed a little bit of this in this other video, but I'll just go over it again. So yeah, I was just thinking like, why is that? Because yeah, you can say like, yeah, you haven't met the right guy, or all guys are douchebags, but that's not really true, realistically. And also, if you really wanted to, you could have done it already. So there is a reason that's stopping you. And I was kind of like trying to figure out what that reason was. Because at some point I also realized, I just started thinking about this stuff a lot. I'm like a really kind of deep person. And so I started reading a lot of like self-help books and like watching videos, and you know, just kind of started thinking more about why I do certain things. And yeah, so one day, sometimes it's just randomly these thoughts popped in my head and I was like, why is that? Or why do I do it this way? There must have been something that triggered me to do it that way. So I was trying to figure out what the reason was, because I was going on dates, but I would go on like 1 or 2 dates and that was it. And I did kind of realize pretty quickly, once I started trying to figure that out, that it was because I was scared. But at that point I was still kind of figuring out what is it exactly that I'm scared of, and why am I scared of that. So yeah, I kind of started thinking a lot more about that. And then I was like, one night I was just laying in bed and I just realized, hang on a sec. I think this was like maybe 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago or something like that. And I was like, hang on a sec. Yes, I've like gone on dates and stuff. But then I realized I had never actually even been alone in a room with a guy. And I was like, that's weird, that's not normal. So, obviously except like my dad, but like never with anyone I was like seeing or anything like that. And I was like, that's not normal. Like, where is that coming from? And it came back to like that fear. And I realized it was fear to get hurt, but not emotionally get hurt. Like, blatantly said, I was just scared that if I would go alone in a room with a guy, I would set myself up to be raped or something, which is crazy, which is stupid. And I knew that in my head. I was like, that's really irrational, that's not normal. And then I was like, but where does that come from? Because I've never had, like, luckily, that experience of, like, being raped or anything. And then I was like, the only thing that I could think of that came closest was when I was 18 and I moved to Townsville from the Netherlands by myself, and like I lived in a shared house, and it was great. And we like there was this one specific night that I remember, and we went out, we went clubbing, which wasn't like the first time we had done that. So there was a big group of us, so there was I think 5 of us girls, 2 or 3 guys, and we just like went to this club that we had been to before, and there was this guy that we didn't know that was not with our group, and he kind of started following me around, and it was a bit weird, like I was a bit weirded out. And then yeah, he kind of started, whoa, okay, so he yeah, like this guy kind of kept following me. I was a bit creeped out. I didn't know what his deal was. He kept trying to dance with me, but I was dancing with this other guy that was in our group. But like, this guy I was dancing with was like in front of me, and then this other guy would like come behind me and just kind of grab me and stuff. And I would literally walk away like to the other side of the room, and he would just like follow me, and he would start trying to grab me. And I remember at some point he was behind me, and he just kind of like grabbed my hips, but like I couldn't get away from him. And then he started like licking and like sucking my back, and it creeped me out so bad, and I was scared. And this was in a public place, like there was people around. So eventually my friend that was in front of me, she was like dancing in front of me, and she saw that something was wrong, and she was like, are you okay? I'm like, no. So she like kind of wedged herself in between us, and then this guy kind of leached onto her, and then it took the 2 guy friends that were with us to get this guy off of her. And that's the only situation that I can think of that might have triggered something, because I was scared. I was scared, and this was in a public place. And I think thinking about it now, just like the whole thing of like society, like slut shaming people and like victim blaming, I guess somehow in my head I interpreted that I did something and it was sort of my fault. But like I never thought about this incident like an assault or anything. I just honestly, for years, I kind of laughed it off, and I never really thought about it anymore. If I would tell the story, I would just kind of jokingly tell this story about the guy that was licking my back. And then when I was doing all this like self-reflection and stuff, I kind of realized, hang on, because this is the only incident I can think of that could have triggered something. So, because before that, like I was 18 at the time, so before that I wasn't even interested really in dating. And I think I went on 1 date that year. I was in Townsville, and like it wasn't really anything serious. So yeah, so that really kind of freaked me out. And I think at that point I was just like, nah, nope, not gonna have anything to do with this. And so I didn't really date for like, so that was 2011. I didn't actually go on an actual date probably until like 3 or 4 years after that. Yeah, in my head I somehow, I don't know, put that blame on me. And because at the time, this was before like the whole really big like Me Too thing came out, and at the time I was like, well, people were kind of like slut shaming and like blaming victims. Oh, you shouldn't have worn that. Oh, you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. So in my mind, I figured if I don't put myself in that situation, that won't happen to me, which is also bullshit because it can happen to anyone. But then I was like, oh my god, this is like the reason. Like, I had like this aha moment, and I was like, this is the reason I've never been alone in a room with a guy, because I'm scared to put myself in that situation where something might go wrong, and it then being my fault, I guess. Which I know rationally is a really tricky subject. So I know rationally it's not true, it's not like that, and I'm also know rationally most men are not like that. But it's also not a completely irrational fear, because it does happen. So it's kind of hard to find that balance, I guess. Yeah, so I'm just thinking like, yeah, back to like that scenario when I was like at this club, and it was like, I was scared, and there was like, I don't know, like at least 50 people around, and no one picked up on what was going on, except for my friend when she was like right in front of me. And that was in public. And I'm thinking like, if there's been one other scenario that really freaked me out as well, which was also when I was in Townsville, of all places. It happened once in the States as well, but I guess this had more impact because I was younger. Like, I was 18. I never really went clubbing or anything before that. I wasn't really like a party person or anything. I was very kind of shy and a wallflower when I just graduated high school. So yeah, I was like a different person back then. And then there had been another incident, I don't even know if that was before or after that really freaked me out. And I was on the bus going from uni back home. Or no, I was going from uni to like a shopping center. There was this older man, probably in his 60s, sitting like, I was sitting here and he was like sitting here. And I was just kind of like looking out the window, and all of a sudden this guy starts talking to me, asking for my number. And I was just really kind of weirded out, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna give you my number. And then eventually the bus stopped, I got off, and this guy also got off. And then it got really weird. He followed me to the shopping center, and he was like saying all these things like, oh, you have such nice boobs. He was like trying to touch me. This is broad daylight on the street. Like, there were a lot of people around. And I was just like, on the inside, I was like, I need to get away from this guy. So I walk into the shopping center because I was like, there's people around there. And he just kept following me. He kept following me. So I was like, I need to get away from him. So I went into the bathrooms, and I was in the bathroom probably for a good 20 to 30 minutes, hoping that he would go away. And I was freaking out. I was like, I don't know what to do. I knew there was like a security desk somewhere in that shopping center, and it was quite big. And I had walked past that before, but I would always get lost in the shopping center. So yeah, so this guy was like, he followed me. I went into the bathrooms, waited 20, 30 minutes. I got out of the bathrooms and he was there waiting. This guy was waiting for me. And he kept like following me around the shopping center. I told him to leave me alone. I was like this close to like just walking up to like a random guy and just be like, get this guy away from me. But I didn't want to cause a scene, which is dumb. Like, I should have just like screamed or done something. But that's in hindsight. Like, I just didn't know what to do. So I went to go and try and find that security desk, but I was on the wrong floor or something and I couldn't find it. So what I ended up doing was kind of walk ahead of this guy. He was still following me like behind. I walked into a shop and I just hid there behind shelves until this guy passed, and I just took off. Because I also didn't want to go home with this guy following me, because I was scared that then he would know where I live and I didn't know what he would do. So eventually this guy was gone. I went home, but that was like the most terrifying. I don't know, it was probably the time he was following maybe 10 minutes, but that was like really scary. So I think some of those things are the things that, you know, really instilled that fear in me. I think I actually have done a story time about the situation in San Francisco where a guy was following me from the bus as well. So I might see if I can link that down below. But yeah, so, you know, once I figured out it was some sort of fear, and I was like, okay, because I can't just keep blaming other people. It's not just other people, it's something with me. So yeah, so I realized it was like this fear I had, and then I kind of like eventually realized what the actual fear was, and then I was like, okay, I need to figure out where it comes from, because I don't know how to fix this if I don't know where it comes from. So, you know, I was thinking back about these situations and I was like, yeah, that was the situation. Like, that's why I got this fear. And then I was like, okay, what do I do about it now? Because I was like, well, I know I have this fear. I just don't know how to get rid of it. And I can't expect some guy to come along to get rid of it for me. Like, that's not their responsibility. It's something within me that I need to fix. So, and I still don't know if I've completely fixed that. I still haven't really been in a room with a guy, but the opportunities have sort of been there, and I was okay with that. And they end up like not showing up. That's a different story. But at that point I kind of realized, okay, I'm kind of getting over this distrust. But yeah, I felt like for a long time I was sort of lying to myself. Well, not really intentionally, and to other people. Like, I was just like, oh yeah, I haven't found the right guy, blah blah blah. And I'm like, at this point I don't even feel there is necessarily the right guy. But I feel like I need to at least be able to like trust someone and vibe with someone. But I could do that like after meeting them once or twice. Like, there's not necessarily has to be like this whole relationship thing going on. But yeah, I just felt like I needed to figure that out for myself, because I realized this is not normal. And I did actually consider like, should I go see a therapist or something? Like, what do I do with this? Like, I don't know how to get past this. But I feel like at this point, I haven't seen a therapist, but I feel like at this point I'm pretty good at like where I'm at now, and I'm not so distrusting anymore. And honestly, I can't really tell you how I fixed that. I kind of, over time, I kind of realized, look, you know, there's normal people out there. Actually, most people are decent people. It's just you hear about all the crappy ones. That's the problem. But yeah, so that's kind of my update, and now I'm in this place where I'm a lot more comfortable, and it's just kind of, yeah, it's just hard, just the whole slut shame, like the slut shaming thing, it's just really frustrating. Like, even the other day I was like talking to someone, and I've had some photos like a few months ago. I did like, just for me, like to boost like my self-confidence and stuff, I did like a nude photo shoot, like an artistic nude photo shoot on a beach. And I posted some of these photos on my Instagram, and then I got a comment a while back from someone that obviously saw these photos, and he was like, well, you really shouldn't post photos on your Instagram on the beach when you're in your underwear, because, you know, guys will just see you as a sexual object. And I'm like, that's the whole problem that I'm trying to like get rid of, like that slut shaming. Like, I'm like, even if they saw me, like they saw that picture, that doesn't give anyone the right to like do anything about that. Like, what the fuck, what, that's fucked up. So I was like, you know what, I don't know, I wasn't sure if I was gonna share this. To be honest, I have tried, like last time I made that video, I have tried since then to make a more honest video about like the whole situation with that guy in the club, and I just couldn't do it. Like, I can see if I can find some of the footage, but I was just like pretty much crying, like I couldn't do it. So I was like, I don't know if I still have that footage. I can see if I can find some of it, but yeah, so that was like probably 1.5 years ago that I filmed that. But I feel like now I'm on a better place, that I kind of moved past that, and I can talk about it more openly and honestly, and kind of reflect on it from the outside, I guess. So I don't know, I just wanted to share this because, I don't know, I'm probably not the only one that has feelings like this, and like the whole, you know, with the whole slut shaming culture and stuff like that. So yeah, so I think that's where I'm gonna wrap this up, because it's been 25 minutes. I hope this was useful for someone, that maybe someone can relate. If you do, feel free to share your stories in the comments, or, you know, follow me on Instagram, send me a DM or something. Because that's probably the easiest way to reach me. But thanks for listening for this very long update video. But yeah, I hope to see you next time, and have a great day.